All right, now we're going to talk about something really, really important. And this is a concept of pretty much using your own intelligence and your own perception of reality depending on the circumstances. It is deciding, making a decision of, do you go on an instant date or do you date to the girl? Because the most important part of pulling is making sure you venue change and making sure you take the girl on some sort of adventure. Take her out to get drinks. Take her out to a bar. Take her out to get day drinks. One of my favorite date locations back in the day used to be hanging out at the fucking mall and getting drunk at the fucking mall. So literally what I would do is I would set up dates to meet up girls at the fucking mall. And we would go get a bottle of wine and we'd go sit on top of a large fucking staircase. It was like the parking level, so you can kind of like oversee the entire mall. And we just sit there and we just drink, and it was an isolated location. And I would kind of frame it as like, oh, we're on this crazy fucking adventure. And so a lot of these girls, on the surface, they seem so classy, they seem so bougie, but they're just down for a good fucking time and good emotions, right? And it was convenient because since there was not a lot of people walking up to the parking garage, it was a great place to kind of get a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And it was a good time and good place to kind of get a little bit physical at times, escalate, maybe kiss, maybe cuddle, maybe hug, maybe whatever the fuck, right? And then when it came time to pulling, I would either pull them to the hotel across the street, and no, I wouldn't pay for a hotel room. I would hook up with them in the staircase. This is so fucked up. But I would literally hook up with the girls in the staircase. And the thing is, the entire time, I'm framing it as this crazy, exotic adventure. And we would literally hook up in the staircase where there was this like dead bird, and I actually did this for years. There was like a fucking dead pigeon that somehow got into the staircase and died. And I guess because it's like a staircase area where it's like a fire escape, there's nothing there but dust, and that means there's no like bacteria to decompose this bird. So there was just this dead bird that's just been like not decomposing, just there for years. Crazy as fuck. And I remember one time I hooked up with a girl and I put my used condom on top of the dead bird, and I came back like 2 years later and the dead bird is still there and the used condom is still there and it hasn't like decomposed. There's not even like dust over it. And I was just like, what the fuck? It's like I was like hooking up with these women in this like weird fire escape staircase that essentially was like the vacuum of space. Very, very strange. So what I thought was really crazy is it didn't really matter where I took the girl. It mattered the emotions I was showing her. It mattered the experiences I was giving her. And what I actually eventually went on to figure out was pulling girls to my penthouse. I have a lower close rate than pulling girls in like a park or a bathroom at the club. I'm not even joking. I have a lower close rate in my own fucking penthouse versus if I just try to fuck the girl in the bathroom of the nightclub, okay? Or if I just try to hook up with a girl in the employees only area of the mall or in the staircase at some fucking hotel. As crazy as that sounds, right? This is fucking reality. And it really confuses me. It really kind of trips me out. Because I found probably only about 30% of the girls I would pull to those places were just not down. And it was like 70% of the girls I would pull to those places were actually down. So what I found really interesting was like a lot of girls, they're not even used to being in sort of this bougie environment. So when I bring girls to my penthouse and it's super nice and super classy and super comfortable and cozy, it almost feels like way too fucking high end. So to the girl, she can't even perceive herself to be part of that reality, right? This goes back to solidifying yourself in the girl's reality. A lot of girls can't even get their fucking mindset and their psyche to feel like they fit into my sense of fucking reality, right? And so when I try to hook up with them in my house, like they just don't feel comfortable. It's so fucking weird. It is such a mind fuck, but it's true. And usually the girls who do, it's not even necessarily they're hotter. It's that they're more emotionally mature or they're more developed or they're older. So I find a lot of the girls I hook up with in my place tend to be a lot more older or more mature, or maybe their ex-boyfriends are like rich or something like that. And because back in the day when I started game, with a lot of these stories I'm sharing with you, I was broke as fuck. A few years ago, I was literally sleeping on a deflated air mattress when I went to go visit my friends in Australia, right? And I was literally sleeping on the floor. And, I think about it, even like a few years ago, like even like 3 years ago, I was staying in cheap fucking hostels trying to save money while traveling, right? I would try to like sneak into places. I would stay in like cheap as fuck Airbnbs that were like literally like $30 a night, like fucking piss cheap, right? Versus now, like I'll stay in like really luxury places. I'll stay in accommodations that are like $500 a night. So it's really interesting how, you know, a lot of girls, they haven't had that sort of economic success. And so even taking them back to your fucking place can be very challenging at times, because if you live in a nice place, and I've actually talked about this to a lot of my more successful friends, if you live in a nice place, the girls can't even really relate to it. So it's almost like they subconsciously self-sabotage themselves and the social dynamic of the interaction. Versus, you know, my friends who, you know, live in an okay place, they'll pull a lot better. So here's a great example of this, okay? I used to live in a condo down the street from where I live, and the place was nice, right? It was actually a pretty nice condo. It was a really nice 2-bedroom plus den plus living room condo. It was like 800 square feet. And so it was really, really nice place. And for a condo, it was pretty much as good as it gets, right? Especially living in a city like Toronto. It was a great fucking location, really good views. But at the same time, you know, it was, I don't want to say it wasn't anything special because it was really nice. But the way we had it set up was I had a lot of roommates living there. At one point, I had like 8 fucking roommates living there. I had the master bedroom. I had like a DJ living on the floor. I had my assistant sleeping on the couch. I had my buddy who's a videographer sleep on the floor as well. And then like we'd all pull girls. I had my buddy Nick living there. I had my buddy Akin living there. We all had girlfriends. So I remember at one point, you know, we came home and there's like 9 people living in a 2-bedroom condo. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like a fucking refugee camp. But funny enough, when I would pull girls, they would feel more comfortable that there was more people there versus if there was less people there. They'd feel more comfortable with the random roommates. And it blew my fucking mind, right? Where there's more stimulus, I guess, that's part of it. But it's almost like they just felt more comfortable because there's more people who, even though there's like a random guy popping in a fucking room and being like, hey, what's up? He's like half naked in his underwear, just pulled out of bed. It was just such a fucking random thing. What I even found crazier is when my wingman who would live with me or myself would pull girls. This is so fucking trippy. Oftentimes, let's say I bring some girls home, my roommate just kind of rolls out of bed and he's just so happens to be there. He's my roommate / wingman. He'd end up hooking up with the girl's friends. And so I would just pull girls off the fucking street or whatever the fuck, or at the club. And they would literally hook up with my random roommate who just so happens to live there. And it really was confusing. It's like, how the fuck are these girls just so comfortable hooking a random guy at a random house they just kind of pulled up to? And we can go back into like thinking about like tribal things and, you know, even go back into thinking about the psychology of, you know, how social dynamics develop through, you know, your upbringing, through being a teenager, going into high school and college and into adulthood. So it does kind of make sense to a certain degree. But what I also kind of realized is it's oftentimes just a reality of what a lot of people are coming from, because a lot of people aren't coming from naturally being born into living in a fucking $2.5 million penthouse in the sky, or, you know, living in a fucking mansion, or living in this kind of like luxury kind of experience. And so when you bring a girl into this environment, it's going to overwhelm them, it's going to intimidate them, versus having a kind of situation that's a little bit more relatable to them, right? And so by having extra roommates, by having a lot of people around, by having the place even kind of messy, as crazy as it sounds, having the place messy, I found was easier to pull girls. So back in the day, we used to pull to my buddy Nick's Chinatown basement, and he pretty much shared a 4-bedroom basement with 4 other roommates, or 3 other roommates, so there's 4 of them, and his little bedroom was pretty much the size of a closet. It was pretty much the size of a walk-in closet, and if you think about this, it's actually insane. Like, his bedroom was so fucking tiny, and he was paying like $400 US a month for rent. Like, so cheap. And it was obviously like a place for like, you know, international students or like immigrants, or, you know, definitely an illegal living situation. Like, it definitely wasn't legal what the landlord was doing to have all these people living in this kind of situation. And on top of that, Nick was just really bad at hygiene and cleaning up. So, and I wish this was an understatement, but no, the place was fucked. Like, there was like half-eaten sandwiches on the floor. There was used condoms just laying around everywhere. There was mold. There was cockroaches. There was literal rats. There was no bed sheets. There was a mattress on the floor. There was just garbage, like literal garbage everywhere. Like piles of garbage, a foot high. Like, you walk in the room and it's just garbage. It looks like literally a dumpster. And we would walk girls through this like pile of garbage, sit them down in the bed, and we would like literally have orgies there, where it's like, you know, me and my buddy Nick and like 2 girls, or like me and my buddy Nick and another friend and like 3 girls. And so it was so fucking crazy. And this blew my fucking mind on how many girls were down to just go for a meeting, a random girl I met in the day, down to come back to my place, walk through a pile of garbage in this little Chinatown basement and kind of just hook up, or go hook up, this random staircase, in the fucking mall or in the fucking random hotel staircase with a dead bird. And it just blew my fucking mind how many girls were down for an experience like this. And hot girls too. Like, I'm not even talking about like average looking females. I'm talking about like pot blonde white girls, very attractive females. And I'm not even talking about like one girl a day, one girl a week. I remember there was a fucking month where, I'd only been with like 30 women at the time, and I pretty much hooked up with another 12 girls in a month. I remember specifically in like 3 weeks, hooked up with 12 girls. I think 9 of them were like new girls. And so like I pretty much increased my body count by 20% over the course of 3 weeks, just by going out and pulling girls on instant dates to these very ghetto as fuck locations and just making things happen just by, the same principles, making girls feel comfortable, et cetera, et cetera. But, I wasn't taking them to my nice penthouse. I was just taking them to these little shitholes. And what I find is when I bring girls to my penthouse, there's so many distractions. There's the balcony, there's the fire pit, there's the fucking bar, there's booze, it's a very large space, there's the paintings, there's all these things that can happen. There's a lot more space. So there's a lot more distractions versus when I would pull girls to these random ass locations, there was really nothing else I could offer them. And I find, human nature in general, but definitely female nature, especially when it comes to women dating men, it's almost like there's an underlying frame of the women's trying to value scan you and almost kind of like trying to extract a value from you. So if you think about this, if you go to the club and you look at a lot of the girls, they're going to be hanging out with the promoters or guys who have bottle service or the guys who have tables and shit, right? The girls are looking to extract value and be around high value, right? Very logical. It makes a lot of sense. Well, in a lot of these circumstances, the only value I was able to give these girls was either like a dead bird or garbage or used condoms or my penis, right? And so it's like, in order to hook up a lot of girls, it's like I was giving them no value except my penis. Like I had no other value to offer them except just me and my penis. Like that was pretty much it. And so it really came down to deciding, do I want to go on an instant date or do I want to date to this woman? So if there's a woman I'm definitely trying to impress and I don't want things to be too crazy, I would decide to, pretty much take them on a day 2, something a little bit more classy and fancy, I guess you could say, something more of an emotional adventure. I remember 5 years ago, I was in a wheelchair. I was brutally assaulted. I hooked up with a dude's girlfriend and he beat the fucking shit out of me. There's actually old videos on YouTube of me in a wheelchair. If you search up Justin Mark wheelchair, you'll see videos of me in a wheelchair. And I got this guy arrested, got a lawyer settlement from it, but it doesn't beat the fact that I was in a wheelchair for like almost 2 months. My foot was broken. I remember my buddy Austin Summers pretty much told me, dude, just get a wheelchair. Instead of using crutches, trying to like crutch around everywhere, just get a fucking wheelchair. So I rented a wheelchair. It made things so much easier. And I would literally meet girls for dates. And they had no idea I was going to be in a wheelchair because there was a lot of girls that I'd met prior. And I'd pretty much get them to meet up with me for a date, and they would literally wheel me around on their wheelchair. So I'd meet them at like the downtown core of the city and a street corner. I'd have them wheel me around. I would have them take me to the liquor store, and I would just grab a bottle of wine. We go drink in a fucking park or in the staircase, where the fuck, right? And I remember back in downtown Toronto, there's this really sketchy porn theater. This is gonna sound so crazy. I used to take girls to the porn theater. And the reason I would take girls to all these sketchy locations is because I didn't have a place to pull girls to. I lived with my parents back then. And yeah, I could have taken girls to my parents' basement, but my family was super religious and Catholic, and they didn't want me bringing girls home. They actually put a ban on me bringing girls home because like I just kept bringing random girls home, and I just kept telling them, oh, this girl's lesbian. Oh, this girl is just my friend. And there's a few times my mom walked in on me fucking naked with girls, and she's like, what the fuck? Starts like hitting me and shit. So she pretty much banned me from bringing girls home. And so all right, okay, fair enough. Not going to bring random females home anymore. And so pretty much I would find these random exotic locations downtown to pull girls to, whether it would be like the Harborfront area, a private area in the middle of the night to hook up with girls in the summer, or whether it would be these random staircases or hotels or whatever the fuck it was. Obviously, there's always consent and respect every step of the way. It was a lot of public bathrooms. There's a lot of random fucking places like that, dude. It was crazy as fuck. And the girls were just down for the adventure because of the emotions I was giving them, and they felt safe, comfortable, and respected. And I was kind of let them know, like, the situation. And I was kind of framing it as this, like, crazy magical adventure. But one place was the porn theater. And I remember the specific date where the girl and me literally had to carry my wheelchair up like 2 flights of stairs. I was hopping on one foot, using one arm to pull myself up with the railing and using the other foot to kind of hop and using the other arm to carry the wheelchair while the girl grabs the other part of the wheelchair. And I had all these fucking creepy dudes kind of like creeping on me, because this was a porn theater. If you don't know what a porn theater is, go ahead and again Google it. It's this really weird concept where guys would go in the theater to sit there and jerk off. So I used to pull girls there, and then there'd be like 50-year-old men who are like drunk creeping on the girls I would bring there. And so I bring the girls in private booths. Now keep in mind, back then I was so broke, I literally would have to sneak into the porn theater to even pay for admission, or get the girls to pay for it. And it was like literally $2. So we'd pay like $2 for, like these private booths that are going to play porn. And then I would just like kind of hook up with them in there. There'd be guys creeping, waiting in line to jerk off in our booth. And they would also be like jerking off in the lineup, just like hearing me, a 20-year-old kid, hooking up with these random girls. It was fucking so fucking mind-blowing. So obviously, if you can get a place in the downtown core of your city, you can get good logistics, you can get a nice Airbnb or a nice apartment, rental, or whatever the fuck, buy the bars, buy the clubs, buy the best day game venues as well, in like a good kind of location that is kind of central to everything. You're not going to have to deal with all these fucked up stories of, pulling girls in garbage and pulling girls, with the dead bird and the porn theater and all these fucked up, crazy fucked up, stories and experiences that I have that I probably shouldn't have. And this shit probably makes you a little bit insane. To tell you the truth, this is some crazy shit. And I've only shared like a surface level of like half the fucked up stories I have with pulling girls. But, the reality is you really want to come down to the situation of like, okay, how can I make this happen? And if you can't, you got to date to her. So the situation is like, do I take her on an instant date? And the instant date shouldn't just be coffee, but it should be like drinks and like, hooking up if you want to, and if she's comfortable with that, right? And so oftentimes, it'd be like, hey, we're going to go to this bar, get drinks, and then we're going to like hang out in this park, and then I'll kind of just like hook up with them in the park or whatever the fuck, right? Or, in the fucking McDonald's bathroom, in like the, seriously, in the McDonald's bathroom, I'm not joking. Or I remember a few years ago, I came back from Europe, and I was renting out my condo to this random like stripper dude. And so I didn't have a place to pull to, and I actually had to fucking crash with some relatives of mine for like 3 weeks. But I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were trying to pull a threesome. And again, it was that night, and I kind of had the feeling, I'm like, okay, we got to decide, like, are we going to day two this girl, or are we going to, pull her now? And it was one of those situations where I kind of knew if I don't pull her right now in this moment, I'm probably never going to see her again. So what I did is I took her again to a hotel, and I took her to the basement of a hotel in the bathroom, and we kind of just like ended up hooking up in like the fucking like where like you go to wash your hands after taking a piss. We literally started hooking up there, and a homeless man came in the fucking bathroom, and I told him to get the fuck out. I'm there naked with two beautiful 10 out of 10 females, two beautiful young females. One's 18, one's 22 or 21, and it's just like me with these two gorgeous naked females. And I told him to get the fuck out. I put like a garbage can in front of the door, and I started trying to hook up with them again. And I ended up taking them to the stall while another homeless man came in taking his shit next to us. I'm trying to have a fucking threesome. And so this is a lot of the bullshit I had to fucking deal with in order to get the results I've gotten, in order to get to the level I've gotten. I had to do all these crazy fucking things to get to this level of success. When it comes to dating, when it comes to socializing, when it comes to meeting girls, when it comes to pulling girls, when it comes to getting these types of fucking crazy results, it's actually fucking insane. And there's always consent and respect every step of the way. I'll tell you right now, if you try half the shit I've done, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble. Knock on wood, God forbid it doesn't happen. But, be really careful. I'm super calibrated. I've got a lot of experience over the years to back up everything I do in these stories. But the whole concept was kind of like always like, okay, it's kind of now or never. And oftentimes, it usually is an now or never situation. I would say 60% or more, maybe even sometimes 70, 80% of the time you have the opportunity to pull a girl. It's kind of like, if you don't do it now, when will you have the chance? Like, is it ever going to happen again? Probably not. Because typically what happens is women and men, but definitely women, have weird windows of experimentation. And so you'll find even in myself, and even in my life right now, like, I have a girlfriend right now, and I also have the ability and the freedom to be able to hook up with any girl I want to. But I find that my subconscious brain just doesn't want to. Like, even right now, like, I had girls who wanted to come back to hang out with me today, but instead I was like, you know what, I don't want to hang out with these girls. I had another girl who was trying to pull me home today, and I didn't want to do it, right? My subconscious brain almost sabotages these experiences because in the back of my brain, I know I have a hot girlfriend. In the back of my brain, I know I have abundance of hot girls that I could kind of see, date, or hook up with anytime I want, right? And so my brain's not thirsty trying to hook up with just any girl. Versus, when I broke up with a girlfriend a few years ago, I remember in a 2-month period, I hooked up with like 30 different women, right? And that's while going to the gym, running my business, doing all these other things outside of just hooking up with girls, right? And so it blew my mind on like how the human brain works and how your psychology works. Whereas if you want to hook up with a lot of girls, it is a psychological thing. It really is a psychological thing. And so a lot of times women are going through this experimental phase where, okay, maybe they're just coming to a relationship and now they just want to have a hot girl summer. They just want to hook up. They just want to go fuck dudes. They just want to have fun, right? Or maybe, they are in this weird, kind of experimental phase where they're having this weird 6-month period of sexual exploration where they're more open-minded, hooking up with guys and hooking up with boys and having fun and partying it up and going crazy and having these crazy adventurous experiences. And those are essentially a lot of the pulls you're going to have. You're going to find a lot of these girls fall into this category of women who are kind of exploring their sexuality and kind of just exploring themselves a little bit, right? And so you got to realize that, what you're doing is either you're going to decide, are you going to pull her right now or are you going to day two? And you got to realize if you do day two her, there's a chance you might flake. She might fucking move cities. She might stop replying. She might block you. She might ghost you. She might not reply at all whatsoever. She might make plans with you and she might just flop. She might make plans with you 8 times and then keep canceling on you. And so oftentimes, the instant date is the best option. And that is, I guess, what you call pulling. Like going to instant date, figuring out, her logistics of, hey, what are you doing right now? What are you up to right now? What are you doing right now? And if she's not doing anything right now, well, hey, let's get drinks. We're getting drinks right now. I'm going to take you to my favorite bar. And you take her to some fucking shitty little fucking pub where you have $2, $3 beers or whatever the fuck. Have a couple drinks. And then, you lead it onto some adventure. But as a man, you got to be leading. You got to push in the direction you want. And you got to, lead it into a situation where it kind of just makes sense that you'd end up in this isolated location. But, it feels almost like it just happened in her reality. And it also feels like this is feeding into her experiences that she wants to have, her hot girl summer, her experimental phase, her experiences she wants to have with a fun, cool guy such as yourself. And so, yeah, you got to kind of decide. And you got to decide, do you want to, instant date or do you want to date two? Now, if you want to date two her, what do? You get her Instagram, you get her number, you get her Facebook, you get her Snapchat. So what I used to do is I used to get the girl's Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. That way she can watch my Snapchat, Instagram stories. I can message her on Facebook. And instead of just being like some dude in her Instagram DMs, I'm now like a guy on her Facebook, right? Or, now what I'll do is oftentimes if I really like the girl, I'll get her number and I'll get her Instagram. Or I'll get her Snapchat or I'll get her Instagram. And the reason I'll get her Instagram and her number is that way I can write down, when I save her contact information, I can write down her Instagram username as well. And that way I can call her anytime. But you can also call on Instagram as well. And that way on Instagram, they can kind of see your value. They can see your stories. So it's kind of like marketing. It's kind of like a marketing funnel where you're going to go out, post cool stories, you're doing cool shit. You're going to throw parties, you're going to do all this kind of cool stuff. You're going to be doing cool daytime stuff, cool adventures, whatever the fuck, right? And she sees you over and over and over every single day in her stories. And that way, when you do go to invite her out on a Friday night for drinks or on a Saturday afternoon for a brunch or lunch or whatever the fuck it is, right? Whatever kind of date to vibe date you'd like to take her on, well, she's actually going to be more open to actually coming out because now you're not just a random guy. You've solidified yourself in reality. She remembers you because you spent lots of time in the interaction. You got her on social media. She's watching your stories. You have her Instagram. She has yours. She remembers exactly who you are because she can see your face in your pictures. And, she sees your daily stories. So it's kind of like subconsciously pinging her brain to kind of realize, oh, this guy is a real person. He's a guy I know. It's not just some random fucking dude. Right. And so the cool thing is, like, great, now you have her Instagram, now you invite her out, and cool, she'll go on a date two with you, but it's usually more often, better to just take her on an instant date and try to pull her in the moment, try to take her on an adventure that day in the moment, and try to take her on some sort of emotional, magical adventure. That's usually how I frame it. And we're going to go on an emotional, magical adventure. What does that mean? It can mean fucking in the staircase next to the dead pigeon. It could mean fucking next to the pile of garbage in this weird orgy experience with used condoms and roaches and half-eaten sandwiches and like mold going on the food and just really weird shit. Or it could also mean, pulling her to the porn theater while I'm in a wheelchair and having creepy dudes jerk off while we're hooking up or whatever, right? But what's really crazy about this is, you look back on all these memories and it's like, dude, I can't even count how many pulls I've had. I couldn't even tell you. Like, it's literally been like, I want to say it's like close to 1,000 polls where I've just like taken girls home, taken girls these crazy experiences, you know, fucking fingering, oral, all these crazy sexual experiences, and, you know, create, like, there's too many memories to even recall, and it blows my mind of like the shit that's actually fucking possible. And it's almost like I compare like my day to day now based on my past experiences, and I just feel like I'm a goddamn fucking pussy. I literally feel like I'm a goddamn fucking pussy, because it's like the shit I used to fucking do compared to the stuff I do now. It's just like, okay, go back to my penthouse, have like a, you know, comfortable doggy style or fucking missionary sex while watching a movie, you know, under a warm blanket, versus like fucking them in the club bathroom, right? And so, yeah, obviously, make sure, again, every step of the way, she feels safe, comfortable, and respected. But you got to think about the girl and think about what will make it a better story. What will make it a better memory and experience for you and for her? Because, again, it's not about you, it's about her. And you got to make her realize that, like, you got to realize yourself that, you know, it is about her. It's not about you. It's about giving her a great experience so she will see you again and she'll have a great time on this magical, emotional adventure, right? And so, yeah, thinking about it, like, obviously it makes more sense why a girl's more down to hook up in this crazy, random, fucked up, degenerate situation versus in my nice, cozy, comfortable, warm penthouse, right? Because, you know, it's a crazier story to do this crazy, weird, fucked up shit. And it's going to make her feel like, wow, I had a fucking great time. And she's going to definitely remember you more than pretty much any other guy out there.